Hello, hello. Welcome back to Let's Talk Palace. Crystal Palace have made their second signing of January. It's one we wanted in the summer in Evan Guessand. And I've brought an Aston Villa fan along, a big Aston Villa fan in Luke Robinson, who runs the channel Up the Villa. How are you doing, mate?
Yeah, good, mate. Great to be recording an episode with you again.
Yeah. So if some people don't know, last time we spoke, I think, was actually after Palace Villa at Villa Park, right? Or just before it. And I mean, we beat you that day, and it looked like we were going to be the good team this season, and you were going to maybe struggle a bit mid-table. And since then, you lot have been in a title race, and we're in a relegation battle. So how have you found the season since then? Has it just been an amazing roller coaster?
Well, I'm glad we don't have to play you again. You're out like kryptonite. I don't know what's going on. We just can't beat you, especially at Selhurst Park. But yeah, you played us early on, and we were in such a bad place, and we've just been able to recover and just keep going. And yeah, like, we're not in a title race. We're only 4 points behind the leaders. I mean, when are you in a title race if you're not that close to the team that are above you? But yeah, we're just trying to get Champions League football again. That's our priority, and try and win the Europa League. So as of right now, everything's still going really well, mate.
Yeah, amazing. I mean, FA Cup still going, Europa League still going, title race. I mean, for what you guys kind of did in the summer in terms of you didn't go as into the transfer window as you normally do, it's been really impressive that, especially after a poor start, Emery kind of found a new formula or found his formula again and just kept on going. And the transfer window's been decent for you despite a few injuries in January. So hopefully that doesn't come into play a lot. But yeah, of course, today we're here to talk about Evan Guessand. Hasn't had the best of starts to life in Villa for them first 6 months they was at you. It's a loan to buy. I think the obligation's around 28 mil if we want to pay that. And I'm guessing there's clauses and whatever in that. But obviously, let me know at the time you signed him, were you excited? And it clearly hasn't worked as much as you guys thought because he's going on loan 6 months later. What would you say the main reasons are for that?
Well, it's quite a long story, so I'll start at the start. So basically, in the summer, we had real problems with PSR and SCR. Not so much PSR, but SCR. So SCR is the squad cost rules that UEFA set. So our wages were really high. They were around 96%. And we had to reduce that. So we really struggled to kind of get to grips with that. And we had to bring in certain players, and Monchi appeared to be kind of like scrambling around a little bit. He was our sort of recruitment guru that we'd had over the last couple of years. And Guessand was one of the players that we'd actually spent 30 odd million pounds on. So, that's a big outlay of cash to spend on a player. At the time, I was quite excited because I'd seen him play for Nice. My brother lives in France, so I'd seen a bit of Nice, and he lives in Nice. So, he was a player that I was sort of used to seeing pick up the ball, driving, beating players, being very dynamic, very powerful. Started his career as a striker. And I kind of felt like he would suit Aston Villa. And what ended up happening is, we didn't really get the profile of players to say Unai Emery's got the perfect squad. So Guessand moved to the right-hand side, and that's where he's played all of his minutes at Aston Villa. He played, I think, one game on the left-hand side. So the right-hand side for Villa in our system is technically a right-sided winger, where the left-hand side is a bit more of like an inside sort of forward that inverts. So he was put outside on the right-hand side, and he's just really struggled to adapt, I think. That's probably my biggest thing that I would say about why he's not succeeded at Villa. I think he's struggled to adapt to Emery's system and the Emery's demands and intensity. And I also feel like he's been playing out of position. I don't think he's a right winger. So, I think, as you probably see on social media, a lot of Villa fans don't rate him. They don't rate his touch. They don't really got good things to really say about him. But, for me personally, that's not my style to sort of like just hammer somebody and get into them that way. I will always look for the best in their ability. And the good aspects of him, I would say, when he's on the right-hand side for Villa, is that his defensive work is very good. So his interceptions, his recoveries, his tackles, his defensive output for the team is very good. And we've seen that Matty Cash this season has progressed to a very good standard at Villa. So I think that in turn probably had a bit of Guessand's defensive ability in there. But going forward, he's really struggled to be a player, look that creative. He just looked very uncomfortable in Villa's system. And I just think it's just probably the adaptation, the demands, him not feeling quite comfortable at Villa maybe with our system. And I think that's fair to say that. I think, certain systems might not suit certain players, and then you'd lead into that, though, why did you sign him? But I think it was more to do with the summer. We weren't allowed to build the squad and get it to look how Emery wanted it to look. So I would probably say that's a fair assessment of Guessand. He scored a couple of goals in the Europa League, which is good, but confidence has been an issue. But where I look at you guys, if you play him in one of those 2 10s behind the striker, I think that's his better position. So you could already see that a player that can play in a different sort of position, him being more central, would be more suited, I think. And I think another, I guess, good thing is that 2 top elite level coaches have signed Guessand. He's not a bad player. He's not a dud, because if Unai Emery signs him, okay. Now Glasner's I know Glasner's leaving, but Glasner okayed it, and Glasner wanted him in the summer. So there's a player there, but I think it's about putting him in the right system and letting him flourish where he feels more comfortable.
Yeah, it's really interesting everything you said there. When he first signed for you guys, I actually was saying I didn't think he was a winger. I couldn't see him playing up top for you guys. I felt a bit like at the time we were quite keen on him, and you kind of jumped in, which as clubs do. For Nice, he played 40 games as a centre forward. So I think that's what does excite me, is the fact that, what you said there about him being better in the 10s sounds like a really, really nice idea. He's only 24, and I think maybe at a club like Palace, he gets a bit more time to, grow if it is a permanent deal, or even if this is a loan. I know loans, you want them to come straight in, but with that possible option to buy, you are looking to the future as well. And I think Villa right now, they are up at the top, and a 24-year-old who hasn't adapted perfectly to the division, it's going to be hard for him to get in. And I think as well, attackers like Guessand, they probably need the confidence in the minutes consistently, and he doesn't deserve that at Villa right now, but he can get that perfect opportunity at Palace. So despite obviously it not working, I am still excited. It's good to hear some positivity as well from you, because as you said there, like the Villa fans have been ripping into him, a lot of them, and part of the parcel these days. I'm personally of the opinion that transfers are getting judged so early these days from football fans, especially if they're coming from abroad. And it always is that first season, the physicality of the Premier League. It's different. It is a tough division. So I'm not too worried about him not doing great yet. But obviously, you were saying there you didn't see him as a right winger. Could you see him as a right 10, or do you think he has to be specifically on the left of the 10?
No, I think he could play either side. You mentioned him as a striker as well. I think he was coming on for, is it Ivory Coast he plays for? He scored a great header at AFCON as well. So I just think him more central is better. Just off the right, I just think he's just something that he's not comfortable playing there, and he just looks quite lost there. So I'd say either side of the 10s, because he was playing, like I say, for Nice on the left as well. And just very, very central, to be honest, is where I could see him playing games.
Yeah, amazing. And also, it has been a tough 6 months for him. How do you think he's dealt with it kind of mentally? Has he still been a decent personality? I know you can't see everything, but if you have seen training clips or whatever, has he still been a bubbly player, not really throwing his toys out the pram or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, he looks. I mean, I've never really seen him like laughing and joking with like Rodgers and no. I just kind of feel like he's not really felt at home at Villa. I get that sense of vibe with him.
Yeah.
And I think it's like the demands at Villa are very high at the minute. You know, we can't have any passengers. We can't have somebody who is finding their feet. You know, where we are right now, Emery's so intense. We have to win every single Premier League game. We have to win every European game because our objective is very, very high. And you know, you've got to just be able to be at the level. You know, you've got to be able to adapt to it. And I just probably think he's probably like you're saying, like adapting to the Premier League's one thing, but adapting to a manager and demanding Champions League football and a title race or whatever, it's it's very difficult. So, like you say, I think sometimes second season, I think he's sometimes very important as well, and you see that across the Premier League with players that adapt to our league. You know, it's not easy. It's not easy to play for Villa, but it's not easy to play in the Premier League as well because everybody's so intense. Everybody can beat anybody on their given day if they're at it. So, I wish him really well. And I actually, if you had to ask me, do I feel like he'll be a success at Palace? I'd say, yeah, he probably will. I think your system could actually suit him more than Villa.
Yeah, it does excite me. It does excite me. And it's, as I said before, it is really good to hear the positivity and how it could work for us for sure. It'll be really interesting as well to see if we do take up that permanent deal for him. I'm guessing you don't really see him having a future at Villa, even if he did have to leave Palace at the end of the season. Do you still think it's one that the club will just look to sell in the summer?
Yeah, I'd probably say so because I think it would allow us to do business elsewhere. I think that would probably be where I'm at right now. And I just think because you wanted him in the summer, I actually feel like you might take it up. If as I expect Glasner to get something out of him, I think it would be a good fit if you've kind of got that little bit of stability, really. With some of the things that are going on at Palace, I think stability now is absolutely key. So if you're getting a player in that can just be stable for a couple of months and then go into next season as well, I think it could suit you.
Yeah, it does sound really good. I'd be happy to sign him permanently. He is only 24. And again, I think something that football fans forget these days is 24 is still really young. I mean, football, it's just we've got so many stars who can shine at 21 now that we forget some players are late bloomers. And Guessand to be making a move to the Premier League and be wanted by two Premier League clubs, Villa, who are battling high or were already battling high before the summer when they signed him, and Palace, who, mid-table Premier League team, is still really positive to see from him. Last couple questions. Defensively, I know you haven't seen too much. Defensively, do you think he's got that awareness? Because I feel personally in a Glasner setup, he's very obsessed as well with the team sitting back and kind of preparing for the counter-attack, being aware of the runs in behind and helping sometimes our right wing back, like a Munoz, if he's on the right, or even Mitchell. They're miles up the pitch, and if we get countered, we do need our tends to kind of trap back. Do you think Guessand has kind of that ability to have that work rate?
Yeah, that's his best aspect at Aston Villa. Again, two very good managers. They're very similar. Yeah. They want their system and structure to be sort of like bulletproof. Every player's got to be positionally correct, and that's been Guessand's biggest strength at Villa. His defensive application. Absolutely loves a slide tackle out of nowhere. So that's always good to see. He just comes out of nowhere, slide tackle. And what I do think he's good at as well is that when he loses the ball, he was losing the ball quite a lot at Villa, but he was also going back and winning it back. And I think that's a good aspect that, don't give up, keep fighting, wants to win the ball back. So I think that part of his game is fine. And I think he's sort of like tactical understanding and flexibility to sense danger and sort of recover and be well for the team is spot on. So that aspect of him is really good.
Yeah, that's really, really good to hear, actually. I think a lot of Palace fans will be very happy to hear that as well. And finally, obviously, we are still in Europe, the Conference League. Guessand, his 2 goals have come for Villa in the Europa League. When he has played in the Europa League, do you think that kind of European sort of match has actually suited him more? And do you think he could help Crystal Palace, maybe go all the way in the conference?
Yeah, I think this sort of the slower, so I guess your slower pace has helped a little bit. I think the fact that we've dominated a lot of teams has helped at the same time as well. And yeah, Conference League, it's difficult, isn't it? Like you are one of the favourites to win it, but Europe is very, very difficult. Whoever you're playing, the challenge is there. And I do think the Conference League got a little bit sort of blindsided at the start, how weak it was. When West Ham won that, it was very, very weak. There were, some bad teams in it. And when we played in it, we our first season in Europe, we played Ajax, Lille, we had AZ Alkmaar, they're top. That was Conference League. So yeah, I think, as long as you're like learning along the way with your progress of Europe, I think you should go quite far in it, to be honest.
Yeah, that's the dream, getting all the way to Leipzig for sure. It's been brilliant to have a Villa fan on to provide a lot of good analysis there, on Guessand. Seems I'm excited. It seems like a move that works for all parties. Luke, did you want to just shout out any of your channels as well for anyone, just in case they want to follow on that?
Up the Villa on YouTube. We do analysis stuff. We analyse Palace when we're optimistic about beating you, and then we don't beat you. So yeah, we can't get too low when we lose to you, because it happens all the time. But we did draw, so I feel like that curse was broken a little bit. So we're all right at the minute.
Yeah, well, Glasner's gone, so you might actually get the win next season for sure. That's definitely how it's going to happen. We're going to probably get a hammering in that game.
Yeah, but I'm good. I'm watching where he goes, because I'm thinking, God, if he goes somewhere, I don't know where he'll go. But are we have the same problem wherever he goes? So yeah, tough one.
That would be amazing. Thanks for coming on, mate. That's been brilliant. That's all for today, guys. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments how excited you are to see Guessand. That's been all for today, and we'll see you later.